You tolerate toxic people because you fear being alone. You accept terrible relationships because loneliness terrifies you more than mistreatment. You stay in situations that diminish you, exploit you, drain you, all because the alternative of being alone feels unbearable. Your fear of solitude makes you controllable, exploitable, weak. Right now, someone is using your loneliness fear as leverage to keep you compliant, to extract resources, to maintain power over you. They know you'll accept anything rather than face being alone, and they're right until today. Every compromise you make to avoid aloneness, every toxic person you tolerate, every bad relationship you maintain, every piece of yourself you surrender just to have someone around, these aren't connection. These are symptoms of weaponized loneliness fear that's been installed in you since childhood through social conditioning that says alone equals failure and solitude equals pathology. Today, you weaponize aloneness. You transform solitude from your greatest fear into your greatest power. You become untouchable. Embracing strategic solitude is not antisocial isolation. It's building power from independence. Understanding how loneliness fear controls allows you to choose relationships from strength, not desperate need. This isn't about becoming a hermit or rejecting human connection. This is about eliminating the desperation that makes you accept terrible connections. When you're powerful alone, you choose relationships because they add value, not because you need them to escape unbearable aloneness. Strategic solitude is fortress that makes you invulnerable to manipulation through loneliness threats. I am Machiavelli. In Chapter 20 of The Prince, I discussed fortresses, whether princes should build them for protection or avoid them as traps. My conclusion: the best fortress is to be found in the love of the people. But I also understood that those who needed no fortress because they were self-sufficient were most secure. The prince who could stand alone, who needed no one, who derived power from internal resources rather than external validation, that prince was truly untouchable. Modern positive psychology research on solitude confirms what Stoic philosophers taught. Capacity for positive solitude correlates with psychological strength, independence, and resilience. The loneliness epidemic studies reveal inverse truth. Those who fear aloneness most are most vulnerable to exploitation, toxic relationships, and external control. Your comfort with solitude determines your negotiating power in every relationship. Desperately afraid of being alone? You'll accept terrible terms. Comfortable alone? You negotiate from strength. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, all taught self-sufficiency as foundation of power. Not because connection is bad, but because needing connection creates vulnerability that others exploit. When your happiness depends on others' presence, you've given them control over your emotional state. When you're complete alone, others become optional enhancement rather than desperate necessity. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am powerful alone. Solitude is my fortress. 1. Solitude. Comfort mastery. Alone without lonely. The first principle is solitude, comfort mastery, developing genuine comfort with being alone so that aloneness feels peaceful rather than painful. Alone and lonely are different states. Alone is circumstance. Lonely is emotional response to aloneness that signals you haven't developed internal resources. Master comfortable solitude, and you eliminate the desperation that makes you exploitable. Think about how you feel when alone. Anxious? Desperate to fill the void with any human contact? Uncomfortable in your own company? This discomfort is vulnerability others exploit. They know you'll tolerate mistreatment rather than face the discomfort of aloneness. Master comfortable solitude and that leverage disappears. Here's the mastery. Deliberately spend time alone, meals, activities, evenings, without filling the space with distractions. Sit with the discomfort until it transforms into peace. Develop genuine enjoyment of your own company. When you're comfortable alone, being with others becomes choice rather than desperate need. You stay in relationships because they're good, not because you can't tolerate the alternative. When you can't be comfortable alone, every relationship operates from a position of weakness. You need them more than they need you. When you're genuinely comfortable alone, every relationship operates from a position of strength. You're choosing them because they add value, not because you're escaping unbearable aloneness. The practice is progressive exposure to solitude. Start with one meal alone weekly without phone distraction. Progress to full evenings alone. Eventually take weekend trips alone. Build capacity for extended, comfortable solitude. Each successful experience reduces fear and increases comfort until alone becomes preference rather than punishment. Most people never develop this because they've been conditioned that aloneness equals failure. Strategic people understand that capacity for comfortable solitude is foundation of all negotiating power. You can't negotiate effectively when other party knows you desperately need them. I want you to drop this affirmation. I am comfortable alone. I need nobody. 2. Ruthless relationship audit. Alone better than badly accompanied. The second principle is ruthless relationship audit, systematically evaluating every relationship by single criterion. Does this person's presence improve my life compared to being alone? If answer is no, eliminate relationship immediately. Portuguese wisdom. Melhor sozinho que mal acompanhado. Better alone than badly accompanied. This is operational principle. Think about your current relationships. How many would you honestly maintain if you were completely comfortable alone? How many exist only because you fear aloneness? Ruthless audit means keeping only relationships that genuinely improve your life beyond what solitude provides. Everything else is fear-based connection that costs more than it delivers. Here's the audit. For each significant relationship, ask, if I were completely comfortable being alone, would I still choose this person's presence? If yes, keep and deepen. If no, eliminate immediately. No second chances, no hoping they'll change. If their presence isn't better than peaceful solitude, they're costing you energy you could invest in quality connections or powerful aloneness. When you maintain relationships from loneliness fear, you accept diminishing, exploitative, or mediocre connections because any company feels better than aloneness. When you audit ruthlessly from position of solitude comfort, you maintain only genuinely enhancing relationships. Your relationship quality increases dramatically when you're willing to be alone. The ruthless standard. This person must improve your life measurably compared to solitude. Neutral isn't enough. They must actively add value. Slightly negative definitely isn't acceptable. Only clearly positive relationships survive the audit. This seems harsh, but it's self-respect. You deserve better than company that's merely better than nothing. Most people never audit ruthlessly because they're terrified of the resulting aloneness. Strategic people audit continuously because they know relationships that don't enhance life are extracting resources that could go to better connections or powerful solitude. I want you to drop this affirmation. I keep only relationships better than solitude. 3. FOMO elimination through preference clarity. The third principle is FOMO elimination, understanding that fear of missing out is manipulative social programming that makes you accept invitations you don't want out of fear that being alone means missing something valuable. Eliminate FOMO by developing clear preferences. I prefer quality solitude over mediocre social experiences. FOMO disappears when preferences are clear. Think about social invitations you've accepted despite not wanting to go. Why did you go? Fear that staying home alone meant missing out on connection, fun, or opportunity. Most FOMO-driven social participation delivers exactly what you feared missing. Mediocre experience worse than the quality solitude you sacrificed to attend. Here's FOMO elimination. Invitation arrives. Instead of automatic yes, driven by fear of missing out, ask, do I genuinely prefer this social experience over quality time alone? If genuine preference is social, go enthusiastically. If genuine preference is solitude, decline without guilt. FOMO is eliminated because you're choosing based on actual preference, not fear-driven compulsion. When FOMO controls you, you attend mediocre social events you don't enjoy because being home alone looks pathetic or means you have no life. When you eliminate FOMO through preference clarity, you attend only genuinely appealing events while enjoying quality solitude, guilt-free, when that's the authentic preference. The transformation happens when you realize that most social experiences people attend out of FOMO are mediocre at best. Conversations you don't care about, activities you don't enjoy, people you don't particularly like. Quality solitude, reading, thinking, creating, resting, delivers more value than mediocre social participation ever could. Most people are enslaved by FOMO because they've internalized that busy social calendar equals successful life. Strategic people eliminate FOMO by recognizing that quality solitude is often superior to mediocre social participation. Choose based on actual preference, never fear. I want you to drop this affirmation. I eliminate FOMO, I choose quality over fear. 4. Total validation. Independence. The fourth principle is total validation independence, eliminating need for external validation by developing internal validation capacity. When you need others to feel good about yourself, they control your emotional state. When you validate yourself internally, you're emotionally invulnerable. Total independence from external validation makes you untouchable. Think about how much your self-worth depends on others' opinions, reactions, approval. When you need external validation, every relationship involves subtle negotiation where you perform for approval. This performance is exhausting and gives others control. Develop internal validation and that control disappears. Here's validation independence. You make decision, take action, or create something. Instead of immediately seeking others' validation, you validate internally. Did this align with my values? Did I execute well according to my standards? Internal validation becomes primary. External feedback becomes optional data, never necessary approval. When you need external validation, you're constantly scanning environment for approval signals, adjusting behavior to generate positive reactions, feeling anxious when validation isn't received. When you validate internally, you're free from this exhausting performance. Others' opinions matter less than your own assessment of whether you met your standards. The practice is catching yourself seeking external validation and consciously redirecting to internal assessment. Posted something online? Instead of compulsively checking reactions, internally assess. Am I proud of this? Does it represent my thinking well? Let that be enough. External reactions become interesting data but never necessary validation. Most people are addicted to external validation, constantly performing for approval they need to feel okay about themselves. Strategic people develop internal validation capacity that makes them immune to approval, withholding as manipulation tactic. Nobody can control you through validation if you validate yourself. I want you to drop this affirmation. I validate myself internally. I need no approval. 5. Comfortable alone. Body language mastery. The fifth principle is comfortable alone. Body language, physical presence that signals you're content alone, not desperately lonely or awkwardly isolated. When eating alone, traveling alone, existing alone in public spaces, your body language either broadcasts uncomfortable isolation or comfortable independence. Master the physical signals of powerful solitude. Think about your body language when alone in public. Do you check phone constantly to look busy? Avoid eye contact because you feel awkward? Physically contract because being alone feels exposed? This body language broadcasts insecurity that invites pity or predatory approach. Comfortable alone. Body language broadcasts independence that commands respect. Here's comfortable aloneness. Body language: eating alone in restaurant, relaxed posture, natural scanning of environment, occasional eye contact with staff or other diners, no phone clutching, presence that says, "I chose to be here alone because I enjoy my own company." Traveling alone, confident navigation, comfortable pauses without anxious checking phone, body language that signals solo by choice, not circumstance. When your body language broadcasts uncomfortable aloneness, you're signaling low social status and desperate need for company. When your body language broadcasts comfortable independence, you're signaling high status and chosen solitude. Others unconsciously register this distinction and treat you accordingly. The physical elements: relaxed open posture when alone, natural engagement with environment without phone clutching, steady, comfortable eye contact when appropriate, no contracted defensive positioning, unhurried movement that signals you're exactly where you want to be. These physical signals communicate, "I'm powerful alone." Most people have never developed comfortable alone body language because they avoid solo public experiences out of social embarrassment. Strategic people deliberately practice solo activities until body language naturally communicates comfortable independence rather than awkward isolation. I want you to drop this affirmation: my body language signals powerful solitude, never desperate loneliness. 6. Social media. Detox for authentic connection. Preference. The sixth principle is social media detox, eliminating digital pseudo-connection that creates illusion of social engagement while delivering isolation worse than authentic solitude. Social media makes you feel connected while actually increasing loneliness. Detox from digital pseudo-connection to develop preference for authentic connection or quality solitude. Think about how you use social media. Does scrolling make you feel connected or more lonely? For most people, social media increases loneliness while creating dependency. You feel lonely, you scroll, you feel more lonely, you scroll more. This cycle makes you vulnerable to exploitation because you're desperately seeking connection while platforms extract attention. Here's the detox. Complete social media elimination for 30 days minimum. No scrolling, no posting, no checking. The withdrawal is initially uncomfortable. You'll feel FOMO, anxiety, boredom. But after 2 to 3 weeks, something shifts. You rediscover authentic solitude and real connection. Digital pseudo-connection loses its appeal because you've experienced how hollow it actually is. When you're dependent on social media, you confuse likes and comments with real connection. This confuses loneliness with poor internet engagement. When you detox completely, you recalibrate. Actual connection becomes face-to-face depth, and quality solitude becomes preferable to digital pseudo-connection. You've eliminated the middle ground that was delivering neither connection nor solitude, just hollow engagement. The transformation? Post-detox, social media becomes optional tool you control rather than addiction that controls you. You might return to it strategically, but never desperately. The shift is from "I need to scroll to feel less lonely" to "I have authentic connection or quality solitude. Digital engagement is irrelevant." Most people will never detox because social media dependency runs deep and withdrawal feels unbearable. Strategic people complete full detox because they understand that digital pseudo-connection is preventing both authentic relationships and powerful solitude. I want you to drop this affirmation. I detox from digital emptiness. I choose authentic or alone. 7. Quality over quantity. Relationship enforcement. The seventh principle is quality over quantity. Relationship enforcement. Maintaining small number of deep, high-quality relationships rather than large network of shallow connections. Most people collect relationships to avoid appearing lonely. This creates exhausting network of mediocre connections. Enforce ruthless quality standard, 5 deep relationships better than 50 shallow ones. Think about your relationship quantity versus quality. Do you maintain dozens of friendships that are actually shallow acquaintances? This quantity gives illusion of social life while delivering no actual connection. Each shallow relationship costs energy that could go to deepening quality relationships or enjoying powerful solitude. Here's quality enforcement. Audit all relationships. Categorize as deep, mutual vulnerability, sustained commitment, genuine care, or shallow, surface interaction, minimal investment, performative friendship. Maintain only deep relationships actively. Let shallow relationships naturally fade through non-investment. Redirect that energy to deepening the quality few or enjoying solitude. When you maintain quantity over quality, you're too busy with shallow connections to develop deep ones. You feel socially busy but emotionally lonely because quantity doesn't deliver genuine connection. When you enforce quality over quantity, you have fewer relationships but dramatically more actual connection. Paradoxically, this makes solitude less threatening because quality relationships satisfy connection needs efficiently. The Ruthless standard: maximum 5 deeply maintained relationships at any time. These 5 receive full investment, time, vulnerability, commitment. Everyone else gets friendly but minimal engagement. This seems harsh, but it's reality. You don't have capacity for more than 5 deep relationships while maintaining powerful, independent solitude. Choose quality ruthlessly. Most people collect relationships like achievements, terrified that small social circle means no life. Strategic people understand that 5 deep relationships plus comfortable solitude creates more fulfillment than 50 shallow connections ever could. I want you to drop this affirmation. I enforce quality ruthlessly, 5 deep beats 50 shallow. 8. Temporary solitude as relationship filter. The 8th principle is temporary solitude as relationship filter, periodically withdrawing from all relationships briefly to observe who genuinely values you versus who was using you for their convenience. Temporary strategic withdrawal reveals relationship quality through who reaches out with genuine concern versus who disappears comfortably. Think about what would happen if you withdrew from social availability for 2 weeks. No initiation, no response to casual contact, genuine unavailability. Who would notice? Who would reach out with genuine concern? Who would disappear without caring? Temporary solitude filters relationships by revealing who values you versus who was merely convenient. Here's the filter. Announce brief withdrawal. Personal project. Need for focus. Deliberate solitude period. 2 weeks of genuine unavailability. Observe. Who reaches out with genuine concern? Quality relationships worth maintaining. Who doesn't notice or care? Relationships that weren't reciprocal. Eliminate permanently. Who gets angry at your unavailability? Exploitative relationships expecting constant availability. Eliminate immediately. When you're constantly available, you never discover which relationships are genuinely reciprocal versus which are using you. When you temporarily withdraw, the filter is automatic. Quality relationships reach out with care. Mediocre relationships fade comfortably. Exploitative relationships reveal themselves through anger at your unavailability. The practice is annual relationship filtering through 2-3 week deliberate withdrawal. The relationships that survive filter through mutual reaching out are worth keeping. Everything else gets eliminated in the filter. This keeps relationship portfolio continuously optimized for quality. Most people fear temporary withdrawal because they're terrified relationships will disappear. This fear is exactly why withdrawal is necessary. Relationships that disappear during brief withdrawal weren't real relationships worth maintaining. Strategic people use temporary solitude as continuous relationship quality filter. I want you to drop this affirmation. I withdraw temporarily, weak relationships filter themselves out. You are no longer someone controlled by loneliness fear. You're not someone who tolerates toxic people because being alone feels unbearable. You're not someone whose desperate need for company makes you exploitable. You're not someone who accepts mediocre relationships because you can't tolerate the alternative of solitude. You're not someone whose self-worth depends on constant external validation or whose social calendar exists to avoid appearing lonely. You are someone whose solitude is fortress, whose independence is power, whose relationships are chosen from strength, never desperation, who is genuinely comfortable alone, not just tolerating aloneness, but preferring quality solitude to mediocre company, who audits relationships ruthlessly, maintaining only those clearly better than solitude, who eliminated FOMO by developing clear preferences, who validates internally, making external approval optional, whose body language broadcasts comfortable independence, who detoxed from digital pseudo-connection, who enforces quality over quantity, who uses temporary solitude as continuous relationship filter. Your fear of loneliness no longer controls you because loneliness no longer exists. Only powerful solitude you've learned to weaponize. Nobody can manipulate you through loneliness threats because you've discovered that being alone is often superior to being badly accompanied. You negotiate every relationship from position of strength because your alternative to their presence isn't unbearable aloneness, it's quality solitude you genuinely enjoy. Machiavelli understood that the fortress metaphor applied to internal resources as much as physical structures. The prince who needed no external fortress because he was self-sufficient was truly secure. You've become that prince. Your fortress is internal capacity for powerful solitude that makes you invulnerable to manipulation through loneliness fear. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am powerful alone. Solitude is my fortress. Nobody controls me through loneliness fear. Subscribe to this channel because we're transforming your greatest fear into your greatest power. Like this video, if you're ready to stop tolerating toxic relationships because you fear being alone, share it with someone who needs to understand that powerful solitude beats desperate company. Your fear of loneliness was your greatest weakness. Today it became your greatest strength through strategic solitude that makes you untouchable.